Well, look, if we keep coming back to Bournemouth every couple of years, and if every couple of years we come back with more MPs and councillors, the idea that Britain's seaside towns are under threat, or its bars, or indeed its marching bands, will be severely threatened. Yet across our nation, things do not feel so upbeat. We know we face challenges in every community and in every public service. We also know that we face external challenges from those nations that would do us harm. And for those of us who care deeply about this United Kingdom, with its extraordinary history and rich traditions, we must care about how we stand on the world stage. And for us, the last few years have been painful, as we felt our influence, our contribution, and our leadership diminished. Friends, our nation can be a force for good in the world, and our role in the world can benefit every community in this country, but only if we choose a new path. As a young person, I was lucky to have the opportunity to travel and to represent my country overseas. And as a result, I got to know Jakob. Jakob was an experienced teacher and pastor from Prague, someone who by conviction was committed to freedom. For decades, Jakob lived behind the Iron Curtain, standing up for the rights of his students to express their beliefs and ideas, challenging the communist system and being sent to prison for doing so repeatedly. Jakob bore the scars of those times, but he was unbowed and proud to have seen his country through to more democratic times. As you'll know from your own experience, every now and then we meet people who have a profound influence on how we think about the world, how we feel about it. And for me, in the 1990s, Jakob was one of those people. You see, I'd watched the news. I remember Reagan and Gorbachev in Reykjavik, and I'd seen the wall come down. But I had never really stopped to think about what it took, day in, day out, to take a stand. It can't have been easy for Jakob. It required resolve, and it took courage. There was a time, not so long after I met Jakob, following the end of the Cold War, when too many of us believed that the arc of history was bending in our direction, that liberalism had won, dictatorship defeated, authoritarians weakened, and all would be well in the world. But we were wrong. Today, the forces of raw power, order, and control are on the rise. They take the view that might is right. Institutions we hold dear are under threat. An independent judiciary, the rule of law, a free press, freedom of political and religious expression, free and fair elections, a meritocratic public service, each and every one of them under siege. But conference, these institutions, which are designed to protect the interests of all from the power of the few, are under threat not only from foreign powers, but from actors here at home too, who no longer recognize their importance. And if we as liberals are to make our stand, as I believe we must, it won't be easy. It will require resolve, and it will take courage. But courage has always been the lifeblood of this party. Think back to our opposition under the leadership of Charles Kennedy to the invasion of Iraq. Or as another courageous leader once put it, ours is a party with a heart and a history and a soul. His name was Paddy Ashton. Now is the time to reaffirm that courage, to inject liberal values back into the lifeblood of our foreign policy. So let us think first of security. Vladimir Putin has ravaged Ukraine, and he now threatens Europe. He's probing for cracks in the resolve of NATO. Only on Friday, Russian aircraft encroached on the airspace of Estonia. Meanwhile, in the United States, it's a president who is at best ambivalent, more often spiteful and destructive, hollowing out the very institutions and norms which his own country pioneered after 1945. In response to such threats, we must take our security into our own hands. And that means a new set of commitments to strengthen our defence ties with our European and Commonwealth allies, to rebuild our defence at home, to give people better reasons to join and remain in our armed forces, and to do right by our service personnel and veterans. To the dictators out there, let us send the message loud and clear. We will seize frozen Russian assets and send them to Ukraine's defence. And we will halt trade talks between the UK and China until Beijing stops its support for Putin's war effort. To those leaders who run roughshod over international law, who cultivate a culture of impunity, as liberals, we say their actions will have consequences. In Sudan, we will pursue those responsible for atrocities, including those external powers who are arming the warring sides. In Gaza, we have seen the terrorists of Hamas for what they are, and we have denounced their genocidal aims and violence before, on, and since the 7th of October. We have also pressed this Labour government to do more, to challenge the cabinet of Benjamin Netanyahu as they pursue the destruction of the Palestinian state. Layla was right to call for the recognition of Palestine, and we today welcome the government's belated decision to follow our lead. Ed was also right to call for the sanctioning of extremist ministers Ben-Gvir and Smotrich. We have been right. We have been right to call for a halt to all arms sales, to ban imports from illegal settlements, to call for the arrest of Netanyahu and Gallant under their ICC warrants if they come to the UK, and to recognise that in Gaza, what is happening today is a genocide. Second, let's take the economy. In response to his tariff war, our government has bent over backwards to appease Donald Trump, while rushing headlong into the arms of dictators like President Xi. Ministers now turn a blind eye to Beijing's aggression, starting by placing bounties on its opponents overseas, including here in the UK, extending to the arbitrary detention of British parliamentarians like our own Vera Hobhouse. But rather than standing up for the rights of British residents and parliamentarians, the government would prefer to do deals with a country that shares neither our values nor our interests. Conference, I say to you, that is utterly shameful. Instead of kowtowing to the bullies and architects of chaos, as Liberal Democrats, we are ready to chart a different course. We will renew ties with partners who choose cooperation over conflict, strengthen relations with those who would join us in standing up to a bullying American president, like the new Liberal government in Canada. And yes, rebuild our trading relationship with Europe. Because if we are to undo the terrible damage done by the Conservatives' botched Brexit deal, we must secure a new UK and EU customs union. Conference, before entering politics, I spent more than a decade as a civil servant. 3 of those years at a senior level in the very heart of government. I was leading teams to support the Cabinet Secretary, Gus O'Donnell, then Nick Clegg as Deputy Prime Minister. And I spent each day trying to improve how government worked. In the Cabinet Secretary's office, I fielded many requests for investigations under the Ministerial Code. And I thought long and hard about what it means to act properly in government. In my first year as an MP, there have been a few occasions when I've recalled those experiences, not least in the recent departures of Angela Rayner and Peter Mandelson. When I first put myself forward for election, it was because I'd had enough. Enough of Boris Johnson's lies and mendacity. Enough of Tory ministers putting personal interest before national interest. Enough of politicians who set out to mobilise fear as a tool of division and to serve their own ambition for power. I truly hoped that with this Labour government, things would improve. Yet they have shown that they would rather be led than take a lead. Far from challenging actions that damage our country, they accommodate them. Today, we see a Labour government willing to do almost anything to appease Donald Trump. In April, we learnt that the government's officials were lobbying the R&A, the body behind golf's Open Championship, to host the championship at the President's Golf Course at Turnberry in Ayrshire. To me, it's shocking that our government is appealing to the personal financial interests of an American president to curry favour. That cannot be right. Or take Trump's number one cheerleader-in-chief, Nigel Farage, a man who'd rather back Britain's bullies than challenge them, who'd rather erode the institutions which underpin our security and prosperity than champion them, who chose to denigrate our nation on the floor of the United States Congress. Shame on him. Farage may believe Britain's best days are behind her, but I say we reject your cynicism, we reject your pessimism, and we reject your plastic patriotism. Last and most definitely least, the Conservatives. A party with no real leadership, no vision. The only legacy they left was one of irreparable harm to Britain and her place in the world, slashing our troop numbers, cutting our aid budget, isolating our nation on the world stage. We haven't forgotten their record, and neither have the public. Conference, we must protect our politics from the insidious creep of cronyism. Next month, the government's Ethics and Integrity Commission will begin its work. The government must show that this commission can truly protect our values from foreign corruption. And that's why I am calling today on the government to refer its own lobbying over Turnberry as the first case for investigation. And to protect our politics from further corruption, we must too go further. The government must put the ministerial code on a statutory footing, and it should bring forward a new lobbying of foreign powers bill to expand protections against UK officials and ministers actively advocating foreign leaders' financial interests. Conference, we must Trump-proof our politics, especially in light of people like Farage, already measuring the curtains in number 10, who care more about what that office could do for them than what they can do for this country. As Liberals, we believe in building a better society for everyone, a mission that matters more today than ever before. I'm a dad to 4 kids, and we have a deal in our family. I was the one who put myself forward to stand for election and put myself on a focus leaflet, not them. And as a result, they won't appear in my literature. In fact, despite my best efforts, they're very unlikely even to deliver it. But they are a huge reason why I am standing here today. I care about my children's future. I care about their friends' future too, and the future for this country's next generation. Is it not our duty to hand on a world that is better than the one we inherited? It won't happen by accident. It means putting our shoulder to the wheel, being willing to try, being willing to fail, and being willing to try again to shape a better society. So let us draw inspiration from people like Jakob, who teach us that it won't be easy, that it will require resolve, and that it will take courage. Friends, today we renew our commitment to courageous liberalism, to defend and extend our country's interests at home and abroad. Thank you.